Hello everyone, today I will show you how to update your Switch to version 21.1.0. Alright guys, version 21.1.0 is already out and surprisingly, it did some fixing to some bug problems that we encountered in version 21.0. And if you're asking if it's still safe, well I tell you honestly, it's still not advisable. But if you updated your Switch like I do, I would recommend for you to update your Switch to version 21.1.0 to fix some bugs in your Switch system caused by the version 21.0. So that being said, let's begin. Now to start with, I will show you that my Switch custom firmware is in version 21.0.1 and today we're gonna be updating it to the latest version that is 21.1.0. And I'm gonna be using the hatch firmware that is already compatible with version 21.1.0. So let's go to my PC and let's get the needed files for updating the Switch. So first guys, you need to go to the aesthetics website to get the file. Now when you're inside aesthetics, look for the Nintendo option and as you can see it here. So click that and look for the hatch firmware and click on releases. Now choose the latest hatch firmware that is released on December 11 and the topmost part of the download is we're going to be downloading the file. So let's look on the details. So as you can see that the software is supporting firmware 21.1.0, so it's compatible if we're going to install and update the files. So I will just browse the screen for you guys to check on the latest firmware being added. So let's begin downloading the latest hatch firmware on the lower screen and wait for it to finish. Now after downloading the hatch file, next is download the latest firmware 21.1.0. And that can also be downloaded from the aesthetics. Just look for the Nintendo option again and look for NX firmware. And you will see that there is a version 21.1.0. Just download that and wait for it to finish downloading. And we're now good to update the Switch. Now let's go to the files we downloaded guys and extract each file by WinRAR or 7-zip. And as you can see, you have two folders here. One is for the hatch folder and one is for the firmware version 21.1.0. So I will just be putting them here on these two files in my main screen so we can come back to them later. Now let's remove the SD card from the Nintendo Switch and connect it to the PC by the SD card adapter. Now in my computer, open the Switch SD card and as you can see, this guys is the root of the SD card. Now before we begin adding the hatch file to the SD card, first you'll need to delete the following folders like the atmosphere folder, the bootloader folder, and the config folder to avoid getting errors in updating your Switch. Next, let's go and open the hatch folder and copy the entire contents inside the folder to the root of the SD card. Now, if it asks to replace a file, just choose replace and it will continue to install the hatch file in your SD card. Now, after transferring the hatch file, next is copy the entire folder of firmware 21.1.0 and paste it inside your SD card. And after transferring the firmware 21.1.0 in your SD card, remove the SD card from your PC and return it to your Switch. Now when you open your Switch, it will open to Hecate and you will need to set up the time and date. So I will just set it up first for you guys. Now after setting up, press OK and press launch and it will load to the home screen of the Nintendo Switch. Now, if there are no errors encountered while loading back to the home screen, it means that the files are successfully installed to the SD card. Now, next is we need to update the switch to version 21.1. So to do so, go to the Abo menu and open Daybreak. And when you're inside Daybreak, look for the version folder 21.1.0, open it and install. Just follow what I do until it starts to install. So after installing, press reboot and it will go back to Hecate. So in Hecate, again press launch and choose MUMMC. It will now boot back to the home screen. And if there were no errors found, you just successfully installed CFW 21.1.0 in your switch. So to make sure, let's go to the system and look for the version. And as you can see, it's in version 21.1.0. Now let's see what version 21.1.0 has in store for the Switch. So first, let's check on the homebrew applications. And sad to say, guys, that most of them are still not yet compatible with the version 21.1.0. The only one I can see here is DBI and Tinwoo if you want to install NSP files and game files for the Switch. Now let's move on to the most irritating part of the Switch is loading of the games. If you've seen the beginning of the video, it has problems opening the games and you need to restart the entire console to play the game. So let's see if that issue is now fixed. Well, at least it did remove the bugs in opening the game, but still it needs to wait for another update, and I hope it can now entirely fix everything to the Nintendo Switch. So that's about it for our video for today. Now, if you like watching this video, please leave a like and also subscribe while you're at it. So thanks so much, guys. Until next time, make your own perspective, and I'll be seeing you again on the next video blog. Have a great day. Bye-bye.